Take a deep breath, and let's hear a story about Molly, a gem hunter with a special talent for finding beauty in the most unexpected places. The gentle morning light filtered through the thin curtains of Molly's tent, casting a warm golden glow across her simple accommodations. Molly was a gem hunter, known throughout the trade for her exceptional ability to find beauty where others saw only dirt and stone. Her weathered hands told stories of countless expeditions across remote landscapes, searching for nature's hidden treasures. The soft chirping of birds outside was usually her favorite alarm clock, but today it failed to lift her spirits. For nearly 2 weeks, Molly had been exploring this remote valley nestled between ancient mountains, following rumors of exceptional gemstones. The cool mountain air carried the scent of pine and morning dew, normally invigorating her senses and filling her with anticipation for the day ahead. Her collection pouches remained disappointingly light, containing only a few common specimens not worth the journey. The weight of disappointment hung heavy in her chest, making even the simple act of rising from her cot feel like an immense effort. Molly's small camp was a picture of meticulous organization, tools arranged by size and purpose, maps carefully annotated with locations of previous finds, and journals documenting the characteristics of various geological formations. Her trusty golden retriever, Jasper, named after her favorite stone, stretched lazily at the foot of her bed. His warm presence had been her constant companion through successful expeditions and disappointing dry spells alike. The soft sound of his breathing provided a comforting rhythm that reminded her she was never truly alone in her pursuits. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the tent as Molly finally mustered the energy to begin her morning routine. Steam rose from her dented metal mug, carrying with it the rich, earthy scent that had accompanied so many dawns in remote places. Her fingers traced the worn edges of her grandfather's geological handbook, the man who had first introduced her to the wonders hidden within the Earth's crust. The pages fell open to familiar passages, underlined and annotated through years of practical application in the field. Despite her current low spirits, the familiar ritual brought a measure of comfort. Outside her tent, the landscape stretched into the distance, rolling hills giving way to jagged mountains whose peaks disappeared into wisps of morning fog. Wildflowers dotted the meadow with splashes of purple and yellow, bobbing gently in the soft breeze. Molly breathed deeply, letting the cool, crisp air fill her lungs and clear her mind of lingering doubts. Today, however, she struggled to feel that familiar spark of expectation, that tingle of anticipation that usually accompanied the start of a new day's search. Jasper's cold nose nudged her hand, pulling Molly from her contemplation. His soulful brown eyes seemed to hold a message of encouragement, as if to say that today might be different. She scratched behind his ears, feeling the softness of his fur against her fingertips, drawing comfort from the simple, genuine affection. Around her neck hung a small leather pouch containing her first meaningful find, a small piece of rose quartz. Her grandfather had helped her identify when she was just 7 years old. The weight of it against her chest served as a tangible reminder of why she had fallen in love with gem hunting in the first place. The morning ritual of assembling her equipment helped ground Molly in the present moment. Each tool had its purpose: the delicate brushes for clearing debris, the specialized picks for carefully extracting specimens, the magnifying loupe for examining potential finds. The methodical process of checking each item, ensuring everything was in proper working order, allowed her mind to settle. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, muscle memory taking over where enthusiasm failed. The familiar weight of her backpack as she adjusted the straps across her shoulders brought a sense of normalcy, despite her lingering doubts about the day ahead. A family of deer grazed peacefully at the edge of the nearby forest, their presence a reminder of the delicate balance of life in these remote places. Molly paused to appreciate their graceful movements, the way they communicated with subtle shifts of their ears and tails. There was something profoundly soothing about witnessing creatures so perfectly adapted to their environment, so at home in the natural world. The soft sound of their hooves on the dewy grass carried clearly in the morning stillness. In moments like these, even when gems eluded her, Molly found herself grateful for the privilege of experiencing the world's quiet wonders. The map spread before her showed the areas she had already explored, marked with careful notations about soil composition and rock formations. Her fingers traced a new path for today, leading toward a series of exposed rock faces she hadn't yet investigated. The paper felt smooth beneath her fingertips, the ink lines forming a kind of poetry written in geological terms and compass directions. Molly had always found a certain beauty in maps, the way they attempted to capture the vastness of the world in manageable form, the promise of unknown territories waiting to be discovered. Even in her current state of discouragement, she couldn't help but feel a whisper of curiosity about what might lie along the new route. Before leaving camp, Molly took a moment to record her thoughts in her journal, a practice that helped clarify her mind and preserve the journey for future reflection. The pen moved smoothly across the page as she described the weather conditions, her plans for the day, and her honest acknowledgement of her waning motivation. The act of writing transformed abstract feelings into concrete words, making them somehow easier to manage. The journal was more than a record of finds. It was a companion through the emotional landscape of a gem hunter's life. Its pages contained her highest moments of triumph and her deepest disappointments, bound together in a testament to perseverance. Jasper's excited bark signaled his readiness to begin the day's adventure, his tail wagging with an enthusiasm Molly wished she could match. She secured the camp, making sure everything was properly stowed against the possibility of afternoon winds. The morning sun had risen higher now, burning away the mist and revealing the full splendor of the valley. Golden light illuminated the dew-kissed landscape, creating tiny rainbows that seemed to dance across the meadow. Despite herself, Molly felt a small smile form at the corners of her mouth. The world's beauty had a way of persisting, even when one's spirits were low. With a deep breath that filled her lungs with the scent of wildflowers and pine, Molly set forth on the day's journey. Each step took her further from the security of camp and deeper into the unknown territory marked on her map. The weight of her tools created a comforting pressure against her back, the rhythm of her footfalls blending with the sounds of nature around her. Overhead, a hawk circled on thermal currents, its sharp eyes scanning the ground for movement. Molly had always felt a kinship with these birds of prey. They too were searchers, patient and persistent, attuned to the smallest details that might lead to discovery. The path wound through stands of ancient trees, whose branches formed a natural canopy overhead, creating patterns of light and shadow that shifted with each gentle breeze. Molly's boots crunched softly on the carpet of fallen leaves and pine needles, releasing the earthy scent of decomposition and renewal. This was a transitional zone between forest and rocky outcroppings, often a promising area for finding interesting geological specimens. The simple joy he found in their journey reminded Molly to appreciate the experience itself, regardless of what treasures might or might not be discovered. As the morning progressed, Molly followed a small stream that cut through the landscape, its clear waters bubbling over smooth stones and creating a soothing soundtrack for her expedition. Water sources often exposed interesting geological formations, the patient force of flowing water revealing layers of earth that might otherwise remain hidden. The coolness rising from the stream provided welcome relief as the day grew warmer. Tiny fish darted in the shallows, their silver scales catching the light like miniature mirrors. Molly paused to drink from her water bottle, watching the play of sunlight on the rippling surface and allowing herself to be fully present in the moment. Several hours into her journey, Molly had collected only a few specimens of common quartz, pretty enough, but nothing that would justify the expedition's expenses. She tried to quell the growing sense of disappointment by focusing on the process rather than the results. The methodical examination of rock formations, the careful extraction of potential specimens, the close inspection through her loupe, These actions had a meditative quality that had always brought her satisfaction. Today, though, it was harder to find that sense of fulfillment. Each unremarkable find added to the weight of doubt she carried. Perhaps her instincts were failing her, or perhaps this region had been overestimated in its potential. The terrain began to change as Molly moved further up the valley, becoming steeper and more challenging. Large boulders created natural obstacles that required careful navigation. Jasper, with his 4 nimble paws, had little trouble bounding between rocks, but Molly moved more cautiously, testing each handhold before trusting it with her weight. The exertion warmed her muscles and focused her attention completely on the present. There was no room for dwelling on past disappointments when one's safety required full awareness. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and she paused to take another drink of water, appreciating how physical challenges could clear the mind of rumination. Around midday, Molly found a flat boulder bathed in sunlight, the perfect spot for a lunch break. She unpacked her simple meal of dried fruit, nuts, and jerky, offering Jasper his own portion. The food was simple but nourishing, replenishing her energy after the morning's climb. As she ate, Molly gazed out at the vista before her. The valley below spread out like a living map. The stream they had followed now a silver ribbon in the distance. Birds soared at eye level, riding the thermal currents that rose from sun-warmed rocks. The vastness of the view provided perspective, reminding her that her current struggles were just one moment in a much larger journey. With lunch finished and strength renewed, Molly continued upward toward an area of exposed rock face that had caught her attention from below. The stone here was different, layered in a way that suggested promising geological activity in the distant past. The surface was rough beneath her fingertips, telling a story of intense pressure and heat, of minerals crystallizing over millennia in conditions impossible to replicate in a human lifetime. Molly carefully examined the formation, her experienced eye noting the subtle color variations and crystalline structures. Despite her earlier frustration, she felt the familiar stirring of curiosity, the quiet excitement that came with reading the Earth's ancient story written in stone. Jasper's excited bark drew Molly's attention away from her examination. Years of companionship had taught Molly to trust her dog's instincts. His keen sense of smell had led her to unexpected discoveries before. Jasper looked up as she approached, his tail wagging with unmistakable pride in his discovery. The area he indicated didn't look remarkable at first glance, just another patch of rocky soil, partially covered by fallen leaves and branches. Kneeling beside Jasper, Molly cleared away the debris, her movements becoming more deliberate as she exposed what lay beneath. A section of rock had been fractured, perhaps by the fall of a nearby tree, revealing a cross-section that made Molly's breath catch in her throat. Embedded in the ordinary-looking stone was a vein of color so vibrant it seemed almost unnatural, deep blue, transitioning to purple with flashes of green when caught in direct sunlight. Her hands, steady from years of practice, trembled slightly as she reached for her tools. The distinctive color, the way the light played through the crystalline structure, these were hallmarks of something truly special, something she had only read about in her grandfather's most treasured geological texts. With painstaking care, Molly worked to free a section of the stone from its surrounding matrix. Each tap of her hammer was precisely calculated, each stroke of her chisel guided by years of experience and the acute awareness that she might be handling something extraordinary. Time seemed to slow as she focused entirely on the task at hand, the world narrowing to the point of contact between her tools and the stone. The sounds of the forest faded to background awareness, her breath synchronized with the rhythm of her work. Jasper sat patiently nearby, somehow sensing the importance of the moment, his usual restlessness replaced by attentive stillness. After what might have been minutes or hours, time had lost its ordinary meaning. Molly carefully extracted a specimen about the size of her palm. She cradled it gently, using her softest brush to clear away the last particles of dust and debris. In the afternoon sunlight, the stone revealed its full glory, and Molly found herself speechless before its beauty. The deep blue core seemed to contain its own light source, radiating outward through layers of purple that shifted and changed with each subtle movement. Where the crystal had fractured, geometric patterns created perfect facets that would require no human improvement. It was, without question, the finest specimen of tanzanite she had ever encountered, perhaps one of the finest ever discovered. The realization of what she held washed over Molly in waves. Disbelief followed by certainty, elation tempered by professional assessment. This single find would not only redeem the current expedition, but would establish her reputation among the most elite gem hunters in the world. Museums would bid for the right to display it. Collectors would offer small fortunes for even a fragment. Yet beyond the practical implications, Molly felt a deeper kind of wonder. The profound gratitude of being the first human eyes to witness this particular miracle of nature, hidden for millions of years until this precise moment. The stone seemed to pulse with an ancient energy, a connection to the very formation of the earth itself. With hands that had steadied with the certainty of her discovery, Molly carefully wrapped the tanzanite in layers of soft cloth before placing it in her specially padded specimen box. The weight of it, both physical and symbolic, felt like a sacred trust, She took a moment to record the exact coordinates of the find in her journal, along with preliminary notes about the specimen's characteristics and the surrounding geological context. The act of documentation grounded the extraordinary moment in the familiar routine of her work. Jasper nudged her hand with his nose, as if seeking confirmation that he had done well. Molly embraced him, burying her face in his soft fur, whispering words of gratitude for his uncanny ability to find what remained hidden from human perception. The significance of the discovery seemed to transform the landscape around her, lending new beauty to what had earlier seemed ordinary. The late afternoon light gilded the rocky slopes, the shadows of clouds creating moving patterns across the valley below. A gentle breeze carried the scent of distant rain, though the sky above remained clear and blue. Molly removed her grandfather's pendant from around her neck, holding the small rose quartz alongside her new discovery, a poignant connection between her first find as a child and what might be the crowning achievement of her career. She felt a certainty that he would have been proud, not just of the discovery itself, but of her perseverance through the difficult days that had preceded it. The walk back to camp carried none of the morning's heaviness. Molly's steps were light, despite the physical fatigue of the day's exertions, her mind alive with plans and possibilities. Every few minutes, she found herself checking the security of her pack, reassuring herself that the precious cargo remained safe. The path that had seemed so long on the outward journey now passed quickly, landmarks appearing and falling behind at a pace that surprised her. Jasper trotted happily beside her, occasionally racing ahead to investigate an interesting scent before returning to her side. The setting sun cast long shadows across their path, the golden light softening the rugged landscape and lending an almost dreamlike quality to their return journey. Back at camp, Molly carefully transferred her extraordinary find to the most secure container she possessed, a custom-made case with multiple layers of padding and a waterproof, shockproof exterior. Only then did she allow herself to fully process the emotions of the day. The valley that had seemed so barren and disappointing just that morning now appeared in a completely different light. Stars began to appear overhead, pinpricks of light in the deepening blue of the evening sky. Jasper settled contentedly at her feet, his day's mission successfully completed. The gentle chorus of night insects rose around them, nature's own celebration of another day completed in the eternal cycle. Molly prepared a special dinner that night, breaking out provisions she had been saving for a celebration. The simple act of cooking over her small camp stove became a kind of meditation, each movement infused with appreciation for the day's turn of fortune. The first bite tasted better than any meal she could remember in recent memory, satisfaction adding its own unique flavor. Above her, the stars multiplied as darkness fully claimed the sky, the Milky Way stretching like a river of light from horizon to horizon. The vastness above seemed to mirror the sense of expansion she felt within, boundaries dissolving, possibilities stretching endlessly in all directions. Sleep came easily that night, her body tired from the day's exertions, her mind at peace with the knowledge of what waited in the secured case beside her cot. Dreams carried her through landscapes of crystal and light, colors shifting and flowing in patterns that seemed to contain messages just beyond conscious understanding. The gentle rhythm of Jasper's breathing provided a comforting counterpoint to the night sounds outside the tent. When morning arrived, Molly awoke feeling more rested than she had in weeks, despite sleeping fewer hours than usual. The quality of her rest seemed directly connected to the resolution of the tension she had carried through the previous difficult days. The journey back to civilization would begin today, a trek that would eventually lead to laboratories where experts would confirm what Molly already knew in her heart, that she had discovered something truly remarkable. She packed methodically, each item finding its proper place in her backpack. The camp that had been her home for weeks disappeared piece by piece, leaving little trace of her presence. This was a point of pride for Molly, to move through the natural world with respect, taking only specimens and leaving only footprints that would soon be washed away by rain or wind. The land had offered her a precious gift, and she honored it by ensuring her impact remained minimal. As Molly and Jasper set off down the valley toward the distant road where her trusted old truck waited, she found herself noticing details that had escaped her attention before: the intricate patterns of lichen on rocks, the graceful architecture of spider webs glistening with morning dew, the subtle variations in the calls of birds announcing the new day. It was as if her successful find had recalibrated her senses, opening her perception to the abundance that had always surrounded her. The weight of the specimen in her pack served as a constant reminder of the rewards of patience and persistence, of the value of continuing forward even when results seemed elusive. Each step carried her further from the site of discovery, but deeper into appreciation for the journey itself. Throughout the day's trek, Molly's mind wandered to the future path of her remarkable find. Perhaps it would be cut and polished into gems that would adorn the collections of museums, allowing thousands to marvel at nature's artistry. Or perhaps its greatest value would be scientific, providing insights into the geological processes that had created such extraordinary beauty. The thought that her discovery might contribute to human knowledge and appreciation of the natural world brought Molly a satisfaction that transcended the substantial financial reward that would likely come her way. The true value lay in the connection, between past and present, between human curiosity and natural wonder, between the momentary disappointment of yesterday morning and the unexpected joy that had followed. By mid-afternoon, the familiar outline of her truck appeared in the distance, patiently waiting where she had left it weeks ago. The sight brought a mixture of emotions, the satisfaction of a successful expedition completed, nostalgia for the simple rhythms of camp life that would soon be replaced by the complications of the modern world, and excitement about sharing her discovery with colleagues who would understand its true significance. Jasper recognized the truck as well, his pace quickening with the knowledge that this signaled a transition in their journey. The wind had picked up, carrying the scent of rain from distant clouds gathering on the horizon. Perfect timing for their departure. Nature's own signal that this chapter was coming to its proper close. As Molly loaded her equipment into the truck, she took one last moment to gaze back at the valley that had challenged her, tested her resolve, and ultimately rewarded her faith. The landscape seemed to shimmer in the afternoon light, the distant peaks catching the sun in a farewell salute. She felt a connection to this place that would remain long after she had gone, a thread in the complex tapestry of her life as a gem hunter. Jasper jumped eagerly into his spot in the passenger seat, ready as always for the next adventure. Molly gave the valley a final nod of respect and gratitude before turning the key in the ignition, the familiar rumble of the engine signaling the beginning of their journey home. The drive back to town took them through changing landscapes, mountains giving way to foothills, forests thinning into grasslands, and finally the scattered buildings that marked the edges of human habitation. Molly drove with windows down, enjoying the changing scents and sounds as they traveled. The specimen rode securely in its case, nestled among her other belongings like a secret treasure, which in many ways it was. Jasper dozed beside her, occasionally waking to observe the passing scenery with contented eyes. The rhythmic sound of tires on pavement created a backdrop for Molly's reflections on the expedition, on the lessons relearned about persistence, about the unpredictable nature of discovery, and about the importance of remaining open to possibility, even in moments of discouragement. That evening, checked into a small hotel on the outskirts of town, Molly allowed herself the luxury of a long hot shower, washing away the physical traces of her time in the wilderness, while holding tight to the experiences and insights gained. Later, sitting on the bed with the tanzanite specimen carefully unwrapped before her, she made a call to her mentor and business partner, a woman who had guided her through the early years of her career. The joy in her mentor's voice upon hearing the news confirmed what Molly already knew, that this find would change everything. Plans were quickly made for authentication and appraisal, for the careful next steps that would bring this treasure into the world in a way that honored its exceptional nature. The conversation left Molly feeling connected to the larger community of those who shared her passion for the Earth's hidden wonders. Sleep came easily again that night, dreamless and deep, her body surrendering to the comfort of the hotel bed after weeks of camping. When morning arrived, Molly woke with a sense of purpose and direction that had been missing during the difficult days of the expedition. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating dust motes that danced in the air like miniature constellations. Jasper stretched lazily at the foot of the bed, in no hurry to begin the day. Molly reached for her journal, recording her thoughts and feelings as she prepared to transition back into the rhythms of more conventional life. The pages were filling with the story of this expedition, a narrative that had transformed from one of disappointment to one of unexpected triumph. Before checking out of the hotel, Molly took a moment to sit by the window, cradling the specimen in her hands one more time before securing it for transport. In the clear morning light, the tanzanite revealed new subtleties of color and structure that she hadn't noticed before. Layers of beauty that would continue to unfold with proper study. It occurred to her that this was true of life itself. Beneath apparent ordinary surfaces, extraordinary wonders waited for those patient enough to look deeply, persistent enough to continue searching even when immediate results proved disappointing. The stone seemed to pulse with possibility in her hands, its cool surface warming gradually with her touch. The final leg of their journey would take them to the city, to the specialized laboratory where the true value and significance of her find would be assessed. As Molly loaded Jasper and her belongings into the truck, she felt a sense of completion, of having come full circle. What had begun as a test of her resolve had transformed into a confirmation of her path, a vivid reminder of why she had chosen this life of search and discovery. The open road stretched before them, leading toward new possibilities, new challenges, new discoveries waiting to be made. Molly adjusted her mirrors, took one last look at the mountains in the distance, and set forth with a heart full of gratitude and a mind open to whatever the journey might bring next. The tanzanite traveled securely beside her, its discovery not an ending but a beginning, one beautiful chapter in an ongoing story of curiosity, perseverance, and wonder.